We are dangerous when we think seeing something means that we completely understand it. Because we see one layer and then we mistake it for the whole story. We see somebody quiet, then we call them rude and conceited. Then we see somebody smiling and we think that they are okay. We see somebody successful and they assume they had it easy, a silver spoon in their mouth. And sometimes we even say, it must be nice. We see somebody fall and we already think we know why they tripped. But what if we're not wrong because we didn't look? What if we're wrong because we didn't look deep enough? And that's my illustrators. That's what I call observational ignorance. It's not the absence of sight, it's the arrogance of shallow sight. Welcome to Articulated Illustration, where we see things from unusual angles. I'm your host, Dwayne Richardson Sr., and this podcast is sponsored by me. But if you want to invest in purpose and build something together, I'm right here. And today, we're talking about something all of us have done. We saw one thing, heard one comment, watched one reaction, and we noticed one moment. And we built a whole conclusion out of a partial observation. Today's episode is called Observational Ignorance. And here is how I define it. Observational ignorance is when we observe the surface of something and we assume that we understand the depth of it. In other words, we saw the cover and we thought we read the whole book.
Word of the day.
Context is what's surrounding what you see. It's the background, it's the history, it's the pressure, and also it's the timing. It's the unseen details that explain the visible moment. So without context, observation gets very dangerous because if you remove context, you can almost make anything look like something that it's not. A tired man can look lazy, a quiet woman can look arrogant, and a cautious mind could look scared. A hurt heart could look angry, and a disciplined life can look boring. A healing soul can look distant. And that's why surface level observation can make us so confident and wrong at the same exact time. Now, we all know seeing is easy. Now, understanding takes humility. Seeing says, I notice what happened. Understanding says, now let me slow down before I decide what that means. And that's a big difference because a lot of us don't respond to what actually happened. We respond to the meaning that we assign to it. Somebody doesn't text back fast enough. They don't care. Somebody corrects us. They're attacking me. Somebody sets a boundary. Oh, they changed. Somebody succeeds. Oh, they got lucky. Must be nice. Somebody struggles. They must not be trying. Or they may be lazy.
Here is today's articulated illustration.
Picture the surface of a lake. Now from the top, it looks calm, smooth, peaceful, still. But underneath that surface, there's movement that you cannot see. There's currents, depth, rocks, things living down there that never break the surface. And if you only judge that lake by what you see it from above, you think nothing is happening. But a still surface doesn't mean there's no activity underneath. That's observational ignorance, my illustrators. Looking at the top layer and acting like you understand the whole thing. We see the surface, but we don't consider the depth. We see the reaction, but we don't consider the wound. We see the success, but we don't consider the sacrifice, the late nights. We see the silence, but we don't consider the healing. We see the mistake, but we don't consider the pressure that manifested the mistake. And that's why we have to be real careful. Some things are deeper, a lot deeper than they appear. Some people are carrying more than they actually show. And some situations have more layers than we are willing to recognize. And the lesson isn't always sitting right there on the surface. Sometimes the lesson is underneath. So the question isn't just, what did I see? The better question is, What might I be missing? Imagine pausing a movie at a random scene. You see a man running down the street. That's it. And that's all you get. Now, based on that one frame, you could say he's guilty, he's scared, he's late, or he's being chased, or he's chasing somebody, he's just exercising, he's running from danger, or he's running towards help. Now, same image, completely different possibilities. Why? Because one frame does not tell you the whole movie. And that's exactly how we do people. We take one frame out of their life and act like we watched the entire film. But my illustrators, people are not screenshots. People are stories with layers, and stories have chapters you never witnessed. Think about a house for a second. You walk past it, you see the walls, the roof, the windows, looks solid, looks beautiful, looks finished. But none of that is what actually holding the house up. But none of that is what's actually holding the house up. The foundation is underground. You'll never see it. You just have to trust that it's there because the house is still standing. That's life. That's people. That's pain, success, that's failure, and that's behavior. We see what's built, but underneath there could be trauma, pressure, fear, discipline, sacrifice, and grief, insecurities, history, prayers, private battles that we have never seen, private victories, private wounds. And notice I'm keep using the word private because we don't see these things. So when we judge somebody off of what's built on top, we are truly ignoring what's actually holding them up. And if you can't understand a house or a person by only looking at what's above ground, so why do we do this? Because surface level conclusions are fast. Depth takes time. Depth requires patience, and a lot of us don't have that. Depth requires humility. Depth requires us to admit that we may not know as much as we think we know. And let's be honest, it truly feels good to think we know. It gives us a sense of control, it feeds our ego, and it lets us sort people into neat little boxes. Good, bad, lazy, fake, prideful, weak, strong, successful, failure. Now notice all these boxes that we just checked. But their life is rarely that simple. People are rarely that simple. Situations are not that simple. The truth isn't always hidden. Sometimes it's just layered. Now, I think this is something we all can agree on. Social media has made observation ignorance 10 times worse. We see highlights and we think we know lifestyles. We see pictures and we think we know peace. We see the fancy vacations and we think we know finances. We see a couple smiling and we think we know the whole relationship. We see somebody post confidence and think they don't battle insecurity behind it. We also see somebody go quiet online and we assume nothing's happening. But social media is not the whole truth. I believe we all know that. It's a selected angle, a cropped image, highlights, if you will, a single moment, and sometimes it's performance. It's marketing. Oftentimes it's pain with a filter on it. You cannot diagnose a man's entire life from his edited moments, can you? And we do this with success. We see somebody winning, and once again we say, must be nice. We didn't see the years they got ignored, didn't see the nights they almost quit, and we didn't see the money that they lost. We didn't see the discipline that nobody clapped for. We didn't see the private embarrassment, the failed attempts, and didn't see the mornings when they got up when nobody was watching and nobody cared. But we all see the fruit and ignore the root. We see the result and ignore the routine. We see the platform and we ignore the process. And that's observational ignorance, looking at the harvest and pretending there was never a planting season. We have to stop this, my illustrators. We have to stop. But it's just not success that we misread. We have a tendency to misread pain also. Now, sometimes somebody's short-tempered, we call them difficult, but we don't know the burdens that they are carrying. Somebody withdraws, we call them antisocial. And we don't know what drained them. Somebody stays guarded and protected, we call them cold. But do we know who and what made them feel unsafe? Of course not. Somebody struggling financially, we call them irresponsible or living above their means. We don't know what emergency just hit their life. Now, hear me out clearly. This isn't about excusing everything, because at the end of the day, we realize that behavior still has consequences. Patterns, they still matter. But we've got to be careful about making permanent conclusions off of temporary visibility. I'm going to say that a little louder for the people in the back. But we got to be careful about making permanent conclusions off of temporary visibility. Now, the Bible speaks to this directly. In 1 Samuel, when Samuel looked at Jesse's sons, he saw appearance, he saw stature, and he saw what looked kingly. But God reminded him, man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Now that's a word right there. I got the offering plate going around. But people look at presentation, and God sees condition. People look at the image. God sees the intention. People look at the outside, and God sees every inner layer. And that right there should truly humble us, because there are things we simply cannot see from the surface. We don't see the motive clearly. We don't see the wound clearly. And we don't see the private obedience, the private spiritual warfare, or what God is quietly building in someone. So before you crown somebody too quick or condemn somebody too quick, maybe just admit there may be more to this than what I can see. And that, my illustrators, that takes putting your ego in your back pocket. And I know that's hard for a lot of us. One of the most dangerous combinations on earth is confidence paired with shallow understanding. Because when you're confident but shallow, you don't ask no questions. You don't seek context. You don't slow down. You don't consider another angle at all. You just decide right there on the spot. And once you decide, you start treating your assumption like it's a fact. That's how relationships get damaged. And that's how reputations get attacked. And that's how opportunities get missed. Also, that's how good people get misjudged and how we misread what God is actually doing. Because the thing that you dismissed off the surface might have been deeper and had more complex layers than you had the patience to study. So, how do you break observational ignorance? Number one, slow down your conclusion. You can observe real fast, but you don't have to decide fast. Number two, ask yourself, what am I not seeing? And that's a huge question. And that one question alone can save you from a lot of bad judgment. Number three, separate what happened from what you assume that it meant. Those are not always the same thing. Number four, and this is very important, and sometimes we overlook this, give room for context, not excuses. context. That's a difference, my friends. An excuse removes responsibility, but context, it helps you see the full picture. Number 5, stay humble. Because humility says, I saw something, but I may not have seen everything. And that one sentence right there can keep you from being loud and wrong. You ever notice in an argument when somebody is wrong, they have a tendency to get even louder? It's a trip, right?
The mic drop.
Just because you saw it does not mean you understood it. I gotta say that one more time. Just because you saw it does not mean you understood it. You saw the reaction, but did you see the pressure behind it? You saw the success. Did you see the sacrifice under it? You saw the silence. Did you see the healing inside of the silence? You saw the mistake. But did you see the lesson forming from the mistake? You saw the smile. Did you see the pain that it was covering? You saw the fall. Did you actually see what tripped them? Observation is very powerful. Too powerful at times, if you ask me. But observation without depth becomes assumption. And we all know what they say about assuming. An assumption dressed up as truth can do real, irreparable damage. So before you judge the whole story, make sure you're not the one standing on one sentence. Here's what I want you to carry with you today. Let's learn how to look deeper, and not in a suspicious manner, not cynically, and not like you're hunting to find something wrong. We are real good at that. But with humility, with wisdom, with patience. Because everything visible has invisible layers. Every man and woman has a backstory. Every reaction has a root. Every success has a process and a price. Every failure has context. And every moment holds more beneath it than what you saw at first. And the goal was and isn't never to stop observing. The goal is to observe better. Let's see beyond your first layer. Let's stop worshiping first impressions. And let's stop confusing visibility with the truth. Stop treating the surface like it's the whole substance. Because here at Articulated Illustration, we don't just look at what's obvious. We look at what's underneath, and we look at things from unusual angles. And that's where the lesson usually lives, my friends. This has been today's Articulated Illustration. And today's reminder is simple. Don't let shallow sight create deep judgment. Look again, ask again, think again, and go beneath the surface. Because what you saw was probably real. It just wasn't complete. Always remember to do what's absolutely necessary every day and keep illustrating your life. Why? It's your dream, your vision. Keep the pen in your hand. Until the next illustration, we'll talk later.